Shabbat Shalom. Hey, I was waiting. I'm seriously, it was waiting like in a show when somebody walks in, everybody start clapping or something. It didn't happen that way. So, but it's all good. It's all good. Everybody had a good week. That's good. Everybody studied for this parsha, and I bet you have a lot of questions, right? Well, you can ask Dale at the end. He'll be able to answer those. He'll be happy to. All right. So, where parsha TETSE, where you go out. Okay, have been 40 years in the children of Israel led the land of Mizraim and on their way to the promised land. 40 years. Think about what happened during those 40 years. And we can walk a little bit through it. They crossed the Sea of Reed. They went to the mountains to receive the commandments. There was a lot of rebellion after rebellion. Wars, people dying because of their sins, the rock of Horeb. So a lot happened. And for 40 years, you get to a point that children of Israel, they were tired. I mean, I believe they're more tired, they were exhausted, you know. And let's get a clear picture of this. I have a PowerPoint here. You can see Moshe right there with a Fitbit, Apple Watch. You guys can see it right there. So you have Moshe right there. Let's think about if you're in the desert, the children of Israel, each one of them was wearing one of them. So this is what happened. So in average, on this day, we take about 10,000 steps a day. That is about 5 miles in a day, about 35 miles in a week, about 1,820 miles in a year, around 72,800 miles in 40 years. Sounds like a lot. Is that correct? No? But they still did some walking. I mean, if you have to walk, this counts as a step. They were probably not moving forward, but by their steps, they were walking around. So it's not that they were moving forward 5 miles every day. I'm just saying that every time we take a step, it counts like a step, which should translate into walking miles, okay? I mean, going from here to the restroom and taking steps, okay? So that's what's happening right there. So with that, think about that, 72,800 miles in 40 years, okay? The Earth's circumference is 29,901 miles. In 40 years, you can walk around the Earth 2.5 times. Think about that. In 40 years, you can walk that long. This is the current distance between Cairo and Israel, right there. You can take that journey walking right now in 6 days and 5 hours. And they were not going to Jerusalem yet, a little bit outside. They were not exactly in Cairo. But just to give you a clear picture how long they have to walk. That distance right there is less than 450 miles. But for 40 years, they walk around there about 73,000 miles. They were so close. You can drive from here to Dallas in about 6 hours, which is about the same distance. You take an airplane, it will take about less than an hour in any regular airplane to make it there. Just have that image right there. They were so close. They saw all the wonders that Adonai made right in front of their eyes. Think about this. They left in a hurry. They were rescued from the enemy. In less than a week, they were in the mountain. Once they escaped, in less than a week, they were in the mountain. Remember that they told Pharaoh, let us go so we can go and worship in the mountain. In less than a week after they escaped, they were there, including the mixed multitude. Remember, it was not only the children of Israel. there was a mixed multitude, about 70 other nations, including Egyptians. Remember that the Egyptians were seeing absolutely everything that was being done there. And they were like, you know what? Pharaoh, he's not our God. We're going to follow this Elohim. So all of them, the children of Israel, this mixed multitude, went with them. And people speaking different language. And hearing the voice of, they wanted to hear the voice of Adonai revealing himself to them and giving them the commandments. But they couldn't handle the voice of Adonai. They couldn't handle the voice of Yahweh. What do they say? They tell Moshe after the first 10 commandments that we're giving, it's like, that's it, Moshe. We cannot do this anymore. I can't. This is too much. So it's like when we get really excited in the beginning, man, I love God. Everything that God has done for me is great. He just rescued me. He just saved me. But then we start hearing his word. We start hearing his commandment, and he's like, hold on a second. That's a little bit too much right now, Moshe. A little bit too much. Are you telling me, okay, worship only Adonai Elohim? That's fine. I can do that. That's doable. Not make any false images. Okay, I can live with that. We have a big group that don't do that, but yeah, we can try to do that way. Keep the Sabbath day. All right. We can keep the Sabbath day, but what about if I like to keep my own day? What about if I want to change the day that he gave us to my own day? So you see, there was a lot going on there to the point that they say, you know what, Moshe, we can do this. So what that is telling us is that the children of Israel were not ready to go to the promised land. They were not ready to go to the land that was promised to their forefathers. Do we think we're ready? Look where we are. Look at everything that we have done. Are we any different from them? And that's where we're going to be starting in this parsha. We have a lot of commandments that were repeated or given, and we're going to go through all that. We are in Devarim, Deuteronomy, chapter 21, started on verse 10. The first 4 verses, is everybody there? All right. The first 4 verses, it is the first time that is recorded the commandment of what to do if a woman is captured in war, what the men of Israel needed to do if they wanted to be with a woman that was captured in war. Usually during war times, women used to dress the best that they could and look the best that they have for a couple of reasons, either to distract the enemy or in case of being taken capture, to found favor on the capturer's eyes. So in that way, they were not going to be able to suffer. So here, it is commanded to the men of Israel, if you want to take a wife from your enemy, once you go to war, from your enemies, you want to bring it with you, these are the things that you need to do. You know, shave her head, take their good clothing that she had, cry for their father and the mom for a month, mourning them. You know, just like what you want to put in your profile for eharmony.com. You know, you don't want to have that picture of a woman looking like that. It's not that, it's a matter of to see the heart of the person. Sometimes we go for appearance right away, you know, and that could happen when they were there in the war. They see a beautiful woman. And Israel at this time, we're talking 40 years later, they went through a handful of war and conquer. But this time is the first time that is given to them what they needed to do. So they were either going to be with them for the right reasons, or they were just going to, you know, after spending a month, after doing all this, saying, you know what, you can go on your own way. And so more than anything, she needed to be treated with respect because she wasn't looking for any of this. That was just a man taken away. She was no idea. She was not expecting this. She went, but at the same time, it didn't work out that way. But if the man stayed with that person, he was able and fully part to becoming part of Israel as well. Moving along, the next verses in the Parsha, verses 15 through 17, talk about what a man needed to do if he had 2 wives. In this case, one that he loved more than the other one. And let's stop there for a second. Usually the reason that you marry somebody is because you love that person, right? What would you, I mean, am I correct? I mean, I'm married to get a visa, but that's different. No, I'm kidding. Okay. Okay, no, I didn't say that, sorry. 10 years later, we're still here, so that doesn't count, okay? Anyway, but most of the time when you marry someone, it's because you love that person, right? Not necessarily. For the most part, I say most part. Sometimes you can marry somebody because you're, yeah, not in her case, remember, we're married for a visa, okay? So, there you go, that can be one. But still, you don't get somebody that you hate or you despise, so you don't want to be with, okay? In this case, this is what's going on in this instance. So we have several instances before this commandment was at least recorded in the Torah that it didn't work too well. Just to address the whole issue, it seems that the majority of the time that we see in the Torah, men having multiple wives, it didn't work exactly the way it was supposed to be. And these verses in the Devarim open our eyes of places where we know that knowing this commandment was probably going to help in a lot of the issues that we see before. We know that the Torah is eternal, so was this commandment added later in history, or our forefathers kind of ignore it for a while? For example, we have Abraham. Abraham had 2 wives and 1 concubine. His firstborn was the son of the concubine. Technically, that would have been his firstborn. Okay? Then he had Isaac. Not of the promise, exactly, but look about where everything is leading here. Now we have Isaac. And probably he have Sarah, and then he have Keturah, his other wife, where we have 6 other children. And we all know that what happened with that history, with that story. Ishmael and Hagar was pushed out of their household. And let's be honest, if that happened in this day and age, I think Abraham would have been in a lot of legal trouble. And probably paying a lot of child support as well. All right, so look what happened by caving to his wife's desire of having a child with another woman. So it created a lot of friction right there, okay? Even though it was not his fault, Jacob also have 2 wives and 2 concubines. Leah, the first wife, was the mother of the firstborn, which was Reuben. But his favorite wife, by all means, was Sarah, right? I mean, Rachel. Sorry, going with Abraham back. So Rachel was his favorite one. And all her sons were the favorite one as well. So to the point that Joseph was hated not only among his brothers, but anyone that carried him, because of all the attention that Joseph placed into that one child, even though that he had many others. Okay, so again, this is an example of things that could have been avoided. We can read the entire Tanakh, and we find example after example. Some of the greatest men, including Moshe, David, and Solomon, have multiple wives. But we know that for the most part, it didn't work to be exactly a very good thing. I mean, to the point that even David killed another person to marry someone, but he paid the consequences for that as well. So there's a lot of things that we can avoid just by not doing that. Moving on, verses, I mean, if you have any question or something, make sure you stop and ask Dale, okay? Okay, sorry. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Take that woman in, but what if they were already married? And see, she would be their second wife, and they were actually told to do that.
But they could tell them, you know what, you're free to go.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so they have that saying that they could have done that. And I think that was probably the wisest thing to do. Oh my gosh, here it comes. What's going on?
Okay. David had 500 wives.
Wow.
I mean, what possessed him to go after this one wife or one woman? I mean, when he had all that he could choose from. I mean, he had 500.
Yes.
His wife
So it's
every
not what you
17 hours
Yes.
and 30 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, why was he so possessed in having that one, where he would cause the death of an innocent human being?
Absolutely.
Solomon, not David.
Solomon.
Yes, Solomon, not
He had
that, yes.
1,000 wives.
Yes.
Yeah.
And look what it cost him. I mean, a lot of his wife led him astray from the father.
No, I think it was David who
You know?
also committed
He had,
adultery.
yeah, I don't know, he had a lot of concubines, he was a lot.
That's
But
it,
anyway,
yeah.
overall, it was a big mess, okay? It didn't lead to have that closeness of having your one partner, and that will avoid a lot of issues overall. All right, moving on, verses 18 through 21, talk about the commandments of a rebellious son. In this case, it's a continuation of disobedience, not only to the parents, but also to the Torah. Discipline is not working at this point. A person without discipline will have future consequences that will lead them to death. I believe that this is the key word in these verses is discipline. Hebrews chapter 12, verse 11, talk about, indeed, no discipline seems pleasant at the time, but grievous. But afterwards, it yields the peaceable fruit of righteousness to those who have been trained by it. Proverbs 12:1, whoever loves discipline loves knowledge, that he who hates reproof is stupid. Proverbs 6:23, for the command is a lamp, and the Torah a light, a reproof of discipline, a way of life. And there's so many other passages that talks about discipline in the Tanakh and even the second writings. And we discipline our children the way that our Father wants us or discipline us. Think about the verse, whoever loves discipline, love knowledge. We have to be, I guess, mature enough to know that when we made a mistake, when we do something that is not right, to accept the discipline or to, say or admit that I'm wrong. Usually kids, I know my kids, they think that they know it all. Teenagers these days, they think they know it all. We're old-fashioned people. They don't want to listen to any of us. But discipline is very, very important. In this case, this child, actually it was not a child, was talking about kind of like a teenage age. He was not listening to them. So it have consequences for not listening to the reproof of the Father that is come also from the Torah. Okay, so that's what these verses talk about here. Any question about any of those verses there? Yes.
Then you are at fault, and there's the other half of this too.
Yes. It's like in Venezuela we say you're raising a malandro, like you're raising a thief, pretty much. So it's something that you're not doing it for them, but you're doing it for yourself too. Like you said, the parents are responsible to the behavior of the kid, but at that point, there is a point that we all make our own decisions. I'm coming from a big family. We're 8 of us. I'm the youngest one. We were raised under the same house by the same parents with the same rules, and the 8 of us were all different. And we have chose our own path. We do whatever we want. But our parents did our best, and I mean, none of us got to the point that our parents weren't, well, my mom kicked me out once, but that's another story. Children, don't listen to me, okay? I'm a good example, okay? Anyway, but things can happen, okay? But we come back, we learn, and we just try to get better, okay? All right, moving on, chapter 22, verses 1 through 4. I start seeing a lot of these commandments. This is the way I see it, loving your neighbors as yourself, okay? Return to your neighbor anything that he has lost. Don't keep it to yourself. It's not yours. It belongs to someone else, okay? Yahweh is using ox, sheep, donkey as an example, but I believe it can be anything. It can be a dog, it can be a cat, it can be a wallet, it can be money, it can be a cell phone. Something that you found that you're able just to pick up, it's not yours. Okay, if it is there, somebody left it. Somebody's looking for it. What is the first thing to do? Most places have a lost and found. Like say you're in a mall or something. Hey, you found something, you take it to lost and found. Look, I found this. Probably somebody will be looking for it later. Okay, that's something to think about. That it goes beyond. I'm saying the ox, the sheep, and the dogs. But I think the deeper part of it is like these are some of the commandments that we have thought for so many years that have been done away with. These are the type of laws that old law right there that we don't have to keep anymore. So are you telling me that when our father said this, not thinking ahead of time, so it's like now find everything that you want is yours, just keep it. Don't worry about your neighbor. Just hate on him. You know? It's something that we need to really think about. How can we say that these commandments have been done away with? How can we say that these laws, these statutes that have been given forever, we don't have to do it anymore? It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. So we're doing this, even if you were doing this, even before we start walking on this way, most of us do this. So if you think about it, you have been walking the Torah without not even knowing it. Yes? Yes.
Yes.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Absolutely. That's a very good way to put it. Helping others is selfless. Okay, we live in a world with 7+ billion people, and trust me, it's not about you. It's not about me. Okay, number one, it's our Father that we live here and now, and do it with the right heart. You don't know when you do any of these things, helping others, what you can be doing. Remember, think about Abraham. Abraham was hosting some people for dinner, not knowing that one of them was the messenger of Messiah. Moses was helping some ladies in the desert, and one of them ended up being his first wife. So you don't know what you can do to help others that not only you're blessing them, but our Father is blessing you as well by doing it with the right heart. Don't do it just to, I want to do it because I want to be blessed. Well, He promised you that if you do it, you're going to be blessed. Any question on that one? Okay. Dale, you ready for the questions later? No? Okay. Verse 5. Can somebody read verse 5?
A woman does not wear that which pertains to a man, nor does a man put on a woman's garment, for whoever does this is an abomination to Yahweh your Elohim.
All right. The word abomination in this passage is tovavat, from the root word toeva. There are two forms of abomination in the scripture. The first one is toeva. One of them is toeva, and the other one is shikutz. So those are, am I correct in the Hebrew? Okay, well, shikutz. I was, in my study, that's what I found out. But it's two different ways that in the Hebrew word that we found right there. In this case, tovavat, which is in this passage, is used in Proverbs 16:19 when he talks about the 7 things that our Father hates or is an abomination to him. It refers also to idolatry or idols in Deuteronomy 7:25, Deuteronomy 13:14, Isaiah 44:19. You can just write those up if you want to. Illicit sex, prostitution, adultery, incest, temple prostitution, child sacrifice, cross-dressing, as we're going to see later too, dishonesty, dietary violation, stealing, murder, adultery, breaking covenant. It's a lot that you can cover, but that word abomination that is right there is also used as an abomination for these other commandments throughout the scripture. The matter is, it's important to Elohim. He put it there for a reason. There is a reason why he doesn't like that. And that's something that we really need to be careful. And there have been a lot of discussions about this. What should we wear? What we should not wear? And I think Rabbi have answered that question so many times. Yes. Hold on. Let me go with Dale first, and then I'll go back to you. Yes.
I should have looked it up, but in Numbers it says you're wearing these clothes with an intention to deceive.
There you go.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think in Numbers, but yeah. So it's not just oh, a woman's wearing pants.
Yeah.
That's different than
Yes.
a woman wearing pants with an intention to deceive someone that she's a man.
Absolutely right.
I have this highlighted because years ago, I come across this and I was looking at it. I see in different congregations, they have plays and they have men dressed up like women.
Mhm.
In school, I was in a play and they wanted me to dress like a woman. Thank goodness I wouldn't do it, even at the threat of felon and all that and a beating. I still wouldn't do it. But is that, I mean, if you put yourself out on public display, even if you're doing a play and you dress like a woman, according to this, Yahweh despises or detests it. This is abomination. You're not to do it right. I mean, that's a question.
Very good point. I don't know, I think it's a very good point. I mean,
So, men dressing as women, congregations that have plays and that men dress as women, schools that have plays and men dress as women, is an abomination to our Father.
that's what he says there, what he's written there. And again, if we go back to say, okay, the laws of loving our neighbors, those are still applied, but this one doesn't apply, we're taken away from him. You know, so I think the best is keep it the best that we know, the best that we can, and just do as, I guess, as close as possible as he's written there, you know. Yes, exactly. Very, very good point. Verses 6 through 8, he's talking about taking care of animals and what is right. By doing this, you shall prolong your days. And there's many other passages in the Tanakh that by doing his commandments, he will prolong your days. Okay, so very simple. You want to live longer? Keep his word. Very simple. Many other verses here in chapter 22 covers all about loving your neighbor, and by doing that, you're loving Yahweh by being obedient to his word. For some reason, we want to take away that, saying that, hey, that's only for the Jews, that's only for the children of Israel. They're the only one that need to be doing that. And it's like, that's how can we take away, how can we give, I think if you want to be part of his people, you just have to do what he told us to do. I mean, that's exactly what he say. Do what Messiah did. Here's our example of how to live. Messiah didn't come to just be done away with the law that the Father was giving, but just to show us how to live the commandments that the Father gave us. Just a very good example right there. We can say, I cannot say that we love him and follow him when we want to destroy his word and take away from him. That's not the way that it works. And let's keep reading and see how dangerous that can be. Another about, moving on the passage, talking about building a fence to your roof so people won't fall. You know, how hard is that to follow? You know, was that only for the Jews, or that's for the children of Israel, the mixed multitude, and everybody that say, whatever you say, we'll do? Does that apply today or did it apply back then? It's the same thing. You're covering yourself by doing that. Not let anybody die in your house because they fall from the roof.
Swimming pool too.
There you go.
Anything of that nature, anything dangerous.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it goes beyond just the fence around the roof, but you're absolutely right. We have to be careful. You don't want to have anything in your property that can hurt someone to the point that that person can die. So you just have to be very, very aware of that. Do not plot with an ox and a donkey. We're using two different type of animals with two different strength. It's like me running against Usain Bolt. You guys, the fastest guy in the world. It's like, I'm going to die of a heart attack before he breaks a sweat. You know, we can now go together. So it's the same thing. He's taking care here of his people. Don't have the ox and the donkey, two different animals with a lot of different strength. Don't make them do stuff together. Okay? So it's just very simple. So are you telling me that doesn't apply to us anymore? So we can do whatever we want with our animals and make them suffer? No, it doesn't. What about a man having an affair with a married woman? Or a man trying to get a divorce because he got tired and now trying to lie about the woman's innocence? If that doesn't apply anymore, you can go ahead, marry whoever you want, divorce for $4.99. I have seen a lot of signs out there, and just keep doing that. Have any affairs that you want. doesn't apply anything to you anymore, go ahead and have a good time. Isn't that dangerous? That's exactly what happened in the days of Noah. That's exactly what happened back then, and it's happening right now. Just by us saying that those commandments doesn't apply to us anymore, we're putting ourselves in a lot of trouble in front of the Father's eyes. We need to be very careful how we say that. That can include anything from incest to bestiality. Everything is allowed because the law has been done away with. How dangerous is that? We live in a lawless world already, away from the word. So how much farther we can go by not following this and saying, you know what, we can do whatever we want because I was nailed to the cross. No, it was not. Yes.
Just that, what you were just describing about people just deciding to divorce their mate, marry someone else, and keep trading them in or whatever, that actually becomes adultery when you're breaking the
Absolutely.
Father's law like
Yeah,
that.
and a little bit further talks about that as well. But yeah, you're absolutely right. So we have no idea what we're saying when we're saying, oh, we're not under the law anymore. And remember, we don't want to be under the law. We want to be with it. We want to walk in it. We want to walk in His commandments. Yes?
The section of Scripture is so politically incorrect in
Oh,
our day.
completely.
It would never be tolerated. But because we haven't put away evil, now evil's called good and good's called evil.
That's it.
That's exactly what has happened.
Yeah. I have students at my school coming all this week. I don't know if they did it to you, Blair. But I have a couple of groups that did an interview to me. And the question was, what is truth? That was their question. What is truth?
What did you
There you
say?
go. It's a biblical school, so we're actually able to quote scriptures, so it's fine. So we were able to do that. But that was the first question, what is true? We told them what is true according to the scripture, but then they say, what society thinks that is true? Oh man, that can open a can of worms. Whatever you feel like it, if you say that this paper is not white, that is green, that's your truth, it is okay, and it is acceptable. That's what society says it is.
Taking it a step further and cause it to be so humanistic, so the phrase is now, well, this is my truth.
Mhm.
So that's where you start to allow homosexuality and all these other senses to come in, because they say, well, this is my truth.
Yes.
This is truth for me.
This is truth
So
for me.
that allows you to be disobedient.
Absolutely. But we have one truth, it's Messiah, it's the Torah, it's our Father, what the Father told us. That's it. That's just the only truth that we know. All right, moving on. There's a little bit more. Chapter 23, verse 9. When the camp goes out against your enemy, then you shall guard yourself from every evil matter. Just don't do what your enemies do. Don't do what your other nations do. Just, they worship other gods. They do all this kind of stuff. We don't need to do that. We just have to stay true what the Father said, and we do it the best that we can. Moving on, starting I think on verse 10, covering your excrement when you do your business outside. Especially that it was very common during those days. Dig a hole. That's common sense. That's another commandment that we thought that had been done away with. Not only thinking about our brothers that can go outside and step to it, but the main thing is because Yahweh your Elohim walk in the midst of your camp. Let's take it even a little bit further. What about we go out to eat to the park and we leave the trash there? What about when we're driving, nobody's seeing us, we're throwing trash out of the window? Have we seen our oceans? Have we seen our rivers? How contaminated with trash and bottles and all the stuff that we have right now? Does our Father doesn't walk among us, and He walk among His earth, and He see all this? And we are responsible for it. We are responsible for all the trash that we do. It's not Him, that's us. So we are the one, by doing this, that are pretty much destroying the earth as it is. So Elohim is around everything. As He was doing back then, He's still doing it today. Um, we try to push Elohim out of our life, out of our environment. We have all these animal rights, green earth, to protect Mother Nature. And it's not to protect Mother Nature. It's just to be obedient to the creator of the nature that we live in. And I have kind of like a very interesting movie clip. Do you have the clip ready? It's just very interesting. It's just a couple minutes and see how crazy a lot of stuff going on right now. I know, Blair, you saw this one. That's the one that they show at school. Again, we're thinking just too much about worshiping everything, the earth, the trees, the sun, the moon, but not actually the creator of all that. And these are stuff going on in this day and age, which is very sad, funny, but sad as well. Do you need any help? I got it. Oh no, you have to play.
Deep in the woods of North Carolina, an extremist eco-group called Earth First bewails the violation of American nature.
I want to mourn the loss of all the old growth trees I've seen, and tell them that we love them and that we don't want them to die, that there are some people here who do care. So I want you to know that, trees, that we care.
I think we are deeply hurting in America. I think we are deeply craving answers. I think that we've lost our identity as we have evolved into technology and into industrialized society. Bring me to this cathedral. Bring me to those guys. Bring me to this rock that has the most incredible life. That makes me feel alive.
I've looked at clear cuts and burnt forest, and I felt outraged, but I didn't scream and I didn't cry. And I need to. Ah!
You could cut the video there. Isn't that amazing that this is going on in this day and age? I think the funny part is also the drumstick that he was playing is made of wood. So, talking about cutting the trees and everything. I mean, but that's the problem that we have been running into is that we worship everything on this earth. We want to take care of the trees and the animals, and we have all these groups and organizations, EPA, UNICEF, UN, CARE, animal rights, all that kind of stuff. If we were being obedient to his word, we wouldn't need any of that. We do, but by being obedient to his word. If we do exactly what he tells us to do, we wouldn't need any of those organizations. Yes. Not the other way around, right? But that's the point. We spend so many millions of dollars in helping with this, which is fine, I guess, for the world that we live in today. But look at the commandments that we have been reading. By doing his word, by doing his commandments, we wouldn't need any of these groups. because we were doing what we were supposed to do. By doing his work, we wouldn't need the government to help the poor, because we should have been doing that instead of building $1 million churches, $1 million synagogues. For what reason? When we can help. I was talking to one of my brothers. It's like we have, coming out from the Catholic Church, one of the things I never understood was, if you go to Vatican City, if you sell everything that is in Vatican City, you can take care of poverty worldwide for the next 100 years. We love to go out here and people in this position and just say, yeah, just go ahead, give to the poor. It's like, what about you? Look what you have. Sell one of those statues of Michelangelo for $100 million. You can feed a lot of people by doing that. Oh no, that's art, we need to keep it. So that's more important than feeding people. It's more important for us to look live in Mars than to take care of people here on Earth. We have our priority messed up. And we have that because we're not following him. If we do what he tells us, our mind wouldn't be going around and trying to do whatever we want. Moving on, verses 15 and 16. If a slave escape from his master, don't return him to the master. Let him live free in your midst, whatever he chooses. And you are not to oppress him. Let's be real. Slavery is as alive today as it was back then. There are so many countries that still have slaves. And even here in the U.S., we still have slavery. Not the way that it was before, but we still have. And let's go a little bit further, and this is a subject to really think about. Okay, we have illegal immigrants in this country. I'm an immigrant myself. And everybody will have their different opinions when it comes to that. I understand that. My point is, if you see a person that is here illegally, but you decided to give them work and pay them $2 an hour to working for 120 hours a week, what are you doing that for? Do you think that the father approves that? So you have two options. Oh, you actually have more than two options. You either help them and pay the right wages the way it's supposed to be. You either help to the point that they say, you know what, I have everything that I need, I can go back to my country. Or the worst thing that you can do that they even might hate you for it is call the authorities. By doing that, you're saving yourself from a lot instead of enslaving that person.
Illegal immigrants, whatever you want to call it. They're breaking the law when they came into the country illegal. They sneaked in. If you're saying don't report them, I disagree.
No. I'm saying the worst thing that you can do is report him. That's what I'm saying.
The thing that I can do is report
that you can do is report, like to the worst case scenario that you think you're, like you said, that you feel like they're here illegally, you can call the cops. That's the worst thing that you can do.
I'm not talking about what I feel. I said,
Okay.
I know they are.
Perfect. I mean, is
Then
that...
I'm going to call the authorities regardless.
Again, that's why I
Because
say everybody will
breaking-
have...
They're breaking the law.
Definitely. That's what I'm saying. What I'm saying also to the point is a lot of people take advantage of that. Giving them jobs, paying them $2 an hour, working 120
I would
hours.
turn that person in just as quick, the one who's not paying them a fair salary.
Yeah, and
Call
that's...
right and wrong.
Yeah, and again, but that person is not doing the right thing either, because you're keeping them enslaved now. So you're doing even worse by doing that, giving them jobs, paying them the way that you're paying them, and make them suffer more. And let's be 100% honest with you again. Let's be on everybody's shoes. Venezuela, the last 2 years, 2 million people have escaped the country. 2 million people. Because they don't have food. They don't have security. They don't have work. They don't have weapons to fight the government. What do you do? Be in their position. Are you going to stay there, seeing your family starving to death, dying, going outside and fight the government with sticks and rocks and they're going to kill you? Or you're going to try to go somewhere else to try to find a better life for your family and for yourself? Don't give me an answer. Just think about that. Be in people's position before you make a statement saying, oh, I don't agree with that. Be in their shoes. Because if you think about the borders, we have to protect them. I completely agree with that. But the majority of the people that immigrate anywhere, I'm not talking here in the United States only, that immigrates anywhere, they do it for the right reasons, to better their life. Something to think about. And how do we treat people when we see them that they're in need? Because guess what? We were foreigners too. And God did not allow us to run, but we go by his rules. One of the things, when I came here to the United States, I have to go, as any American, to follow the law that was given to all the native-born Americans. So for me to become an American, I have to follow every law and have to say, yes, I accept it. It's the same to be a children of Israel. If you want to be part of the children of Israel, you cannot say, I don't want to do those laws given to the Jews, because it's not right. It was given to everybody. You cannot say that. You have to say, whatever you say, like we say in the mountain, we'll do. That's the way it should be. Moving along, verses 17, 18. They should not be a harlot of the daughter of Israel, and they shall be no fornicators of the son of Israel. They should not be idolaters of the daughter of Israel, and they should not be an initiated person of the son of Israel. Elohim against prostitution. Pretty simple. If this is done away with, may he have mercy on us. Because we're putting into a position that women and men, especially young children that have been sold as slaves all over the world. Here, he is protecting them by doing that. So if we are saying that he have done away with those commandments, man, we're in trouble. That means that we're being participant of children being sold in sex slavery, because that law has been done away with. And it hasn't. It's as true as it was then as it is today. He loves us. I think that's disgusting and sad just to think about that. We are his precious children, and he cares about us. In the next verses, we are loving our neighbors and our brothers by lending them without let them pay interest. How awesome is that? I mean, you have an opportunity to bless somebody that needs something. It can be money, food, anything that they need at that moment. And by doing that, he's going to bless you as well. Our fathers always give us opportunity to go help someone, to put somebody in our life. And I have been on both sides of the coin. I have been so blessed that when we were like on our roughest time, a lot of people help us. And I have been on the other side that Elohim has blessed us enough that we can help others. So you never know where you're going to be. So just be willing to be and do his word. Verses 21, 23. When you make a vow to Yahweh, make sure you pay it. Vows are voluntary. Okay? The issue of vow breaking is so serious in the Torah that even Yeshua advised us not to even make vows in Matthew 5:34. If we're not going to fulfill it, we're putting ourselves in a position that we're sinning willfully by making vows that we're not going to repay, that we're not going to do. Don't say that you're going to do something and then don't do it. Remember one thing, our Father, he doesn't need our promises. He doesn't need our money. He doesn't need anything from us. He just needs our obedience. We don't have anything that we can give to him that he hasn't given us. Absolutely nothing. An example of a voluntary vow is in the Tanakh, that we find in the Tanakh is in 1 Samuel 1:11. Somebody can get there and read it, just to have an example, because a lot of people will ask, what is a voluntary vow? I think this is a very good example what a voluntary vow is.
Father oppose that you would indeed look on the affliction of your female servant, and remember me, and not forget your female servant, but shall give your female servant a male child, and I shall give him to Jehovah all the days of his life, and let no razor come upon his head.
So Samuel's mother is making a vow to him, saying, if you give me a child, I'm going to give him to you. And I'm not going to cut his hair, referring to what happened with Samson back in the book of Judges. So she made that promise, she made that vow to him. And what happened when Samuel was born? After he was in a certain age? She gave it to the priest, she gave it to him. So that's a voluntary vow. What about if you have broken that vow? Now you're putting yourself in a position of doing something that you were not supposed to do. Yes?
A vow to another person and you break it, you're also sinning against Yahweh as well.
You're
not just
absolutely
sinning
right.
against that person.
Yep. So be careful what you say and how you say things. And trust me, man, I have been there. How many of us have made vow, hey, man, I'm going to be there tomorrow at 6 o'clock. Not showing that. Hey, don't worry about it. I'll do that. And then you don't do it. Just be very careful. Be very careful what you say. And that's the thing. If you are not, in verse 22 says that if you're not making a vow, it's not a sin. Don't worry about it. So just don't put yourself in a position or saying something that you're going to do something, but then at the end you're not going to do it. The chapter finishes with another commandment about loving your neighbor. The first 4 verses of chapter 24, we can move up there. I promise you, I'm getting closer, okay? I only have about 17 more pages, so we're good. The first 4 verses of chapter 24 talks about a couple of situations when a man can write a divorce letter. And we can really go into details on that one later on. I don't think that's where I wanted to go today. And just to make a note, Yeshua talks about that as well. And let's not make that mistake that just because Yeshua didn't mention it, that doesn't mean that we don't have to do it anymore. It's just like this matter was very important that he had to mention it as well. Verse 5, Yahweh instructed Moshe that when a man takes a new wife, don't send him to the army for a year. Man, that seems very fair. Let them enjoy that honeymoon period when they actually like each other and love each other, and then send it to war and anything can happen, right, babe? So she's, I don't know what I'm talking about. But just let them enjoy that first year together, all right? And then you're able to send him away to go fight it. I think it's very fair. Our Father is very fair in everything that he does. Sorry. Verse 6. In verse 6, I don't know about you guys, but I read it about 12 times in 35 different languages and interpretation and stuff, and it was very hard to understand it for me until I kind of did a mix of Hebrew and Spanish to try to understand it better. And the way that I see it is, if you're giving somebody, like say, hey, can I borrow $100? Yes, there you go. There's $100, but for you to return it, I'm going to take the kitchen from you. So it's like now you're making that person not having food or a place to cook because you let them have $100 and you're waiting for him to give it back to you. Once he gives it back to you, you return the kitchen to them. That's the way kind of like I understand it a little bit. I don't know if anybody has a different way to interpret that, but you're more than welcome to share it with us right now because it was very hard to understand. Yes?
Which is similar, I guess, but
Yeah.
just that you're taking their ability to feed themselves,
Yes, there you go.
essentially, at
Yeah.
that point.
Yeah. That's the way I saw it, but it was seriously hard for me to understand.
And millstones are very expensive, so it's also like, it says don't like lend at a huge interest rate,
Exactly. So it's going to be hard to repay. Or like you're just waiting to repay, but you're taking away from them, except for the way they make their food or something, Yes?
Because the concept is you're supposed to be helping them.
There you go.
And so when, instead of helping them, you're actually causing them to be hurt on another side. And that's not
Absolutely.
the purpose.
Absolutely. Absolutely right. All right, verse 7 talks about kidnapping between brothers of Israel. And I have no idea why someone would do that back then, but I guess it happens, you know. I don't know if anyone here have ever experienced being kidnapped or you know somebody that have been kidnapped. Thank goodness it never happened to me in Venezuela, but I have a lot of family members and friends that have been kidnapped. It's not a good ordeal for the person being kidnapped or the family waiting. You're putting a lot of pressure, a lot of waiting, a lot of anxiety on the person being held, and also the family waiting for that person to be set free. And in Venezuela, there's something called express kidnap, which means if they see that you're driving a nice car and they think that you have money, they just get you. Let's pay $10,000. If you don't pay it, boom, they kill you. That happens in my country. Well, I guess the United States, my new country. Anyway, happening in Venezuela. Okay. Or there is the other type of kidnapping when they have research about this person. They know they have a lot of money and they ask for a larger amount of money in that case. But it's something that it was real then that is real right now. And again, I hope that nobody here, either yourself nor your family, goes through that ordeal because it's really a stressing deal as well. Anybody has any question on that? No, okay. Verses 8 and 9, we are reminded about what to do when someone have zarat, which is often translated as leprosy, even though it's not the same. Zarat could manifest itself not only in the skin, but in the clothing, in the house, and in their belongings. It is caused primarily by sin. We have 2 chapters in the book of Leviticus that are completely dedicated to the mitzvah about the commandments and the laws of Zarat. So if you want to study more about that, you're more than welcome just to check it out. I think here our Father just wanted to reminding us what to do when that happens. Verses 10 and 13, again, we see another commandment about not oppressing a brother who lent from us. Don't go to his house and try to get it back from him. Just wait outside. That's exactly what he's telling you. You know, and if you're the person that is receiving the land, don't wait until later on to give it back. Try to give it back as soon as possible. Hey, I just need this chainsaw to cut this tree. Just go ahead, cut it, give it back as quick as you can. I think that's very simple and very straightforward what it says right there. And again, this is about loving your neighbor. It looks very simple, but we still believe that those are some laws that have been done away with. And I keep bringing that point to make a point. 14 and 15. Do not oppress a hired servant who is poor and needy, giving his wages on the same day, so that he does not cry out against you to Adonai, to Yehovah, and it shall be seen in you. Man. I haven't really think about how can we apply that today. You know, we live in a world that doesn't happen anymore. I mean, we are, I guess, fair enough is the point that we can say, hey, you come here and work, I'm going to pay you this amount of money per hour, but I'm going to pay you at the end of the week, at the end of 2 weeks, like all of us have when we have jobs. Remember, at that time, you pretty much work for yourself. You have your own land, you do your own stuff, so you didn't work for anybody. So when you ask somebody to come and work for you, you were supposed to pay them at the end of the day. And when do we see that happening? There is a very good story that Yeshua said in Matthew chapter 20. You guys remember that? One of the parables of the worker. You guys remember that?
The ones that come early.
Yes. So the one that come early, I think it's in Matthew chapter 20, if I'm not mistaken. Yes.
Early that morning.
So Matthew chapter 20 talks about that. So you have the person that started working early in the hours, and then you have person that came midday, and the person that came like an hour before it was done, and they were all paid the same at the end of the day. I mean, it's a very good parable, and it gives us a very clear picture of of the kingdom, how together. But I think here the reference is that Yeshua talks about like those laborers were paid at the end of the day, just like it is written here. So that's something to talk about. I seriously would like to hear any opinion that when it comes to that one.
How it applies today, and I'm not holding any money or anything like that, but in my past, when I was a freelancer, you know, you do work sometimes, freelance photography, and getting people to pay you is a real struggle. And you know, it's, I mean, people just, you know, they say, yeah, well, thank you, but getting people to actually pay you after they've gotten the work that you've given them, it's still a struggle today to get people to pay, so hire freelancers or whatever.
Yeah, very true, very true. So when we're hiring somebody to do something for us, just be mindful to make sure that you pay them when you told them that you were going to pay them. I think an accountant like John will go crazy if you have to take the taxes every day for somebody getting paid every day, right? It's going to be a lot of work. And we can talk more about that later, I guess. Verse 16, we pay for our own sins. Okay, parents can pay for the sins of the children, and children cannot pay for the sin of their fathers. Okay, pretty straightforward. We are responsible for what we do. Nobody else is. Okay. We have many other commandments all the way through chapter 25, verse 19, and for your benefit, we're not going to go through all of them right now because we'll be here for a long time. But I do want to finish with verse 17 and 18 of chapter 24. It says, "Do not twist the right ruling of a stranger or the fatherless, nor take the garment of a widow. But you shall remember that you were a slave in Mitzrayim, and that Yahweh, your Elohim, ransomed you from there. Therefore, I am commanding you to do this work." Verse 18, "But you shall remember that you were a slave in Mitzrayim, and that Yahweh, your Elohim, ransomed you from there." We have forgotten where we come from. We have become prideful. We think we have all the answers. We treat other people not in a good way, not forgetting where we're coming from, what we have gone through. Don't be prideful of what you have, because our Father can do this and take it away from you. We were a slave. We suffered. We were mistreated. We were humiliated. And it was Him that rescued us. It was Him that delivered us. And we easily forget where we come from. That's one thing that I always remember from my father, my early father. It's like he never forget where he came from. My dad was a very poor man growing up. They have nothing, no formal education. I think my dad dropped school in 6th grade, and he just had to work his butt off his whole life. But my dad worked very hard to the point that he had his own company, and he was a senator back in Venezuela for 3 different presidents. That was who my father was. And we grew up in a big house with 3 people working in our house, people driving us around, security guards, anything that you can ask for. That's how I grew up. But my dad never forgot where he came from. If we wanted something, he never gave it to us. Okay, there need to be done some work on the patio, so just go ahead and do something. And always he was giving back to his people, and he never forgot his people or where he came from. My dad right now, because of the immigration issues, coming here, leaving the country because he is persecuted by the government, he's working in a grocery store in Massachusetts. That's what my dad does. But he never forgot where he came from. And even by doing that, he's a very humble person, and he accepts what he has to do to take care of his family. So let's not forget where we come from. Let's not forget what our Father has done to us and where we are right now. How do we show appreciation to Him? Keep His word. Keep His commandments. That's the only way that Yeshua said that we can show Him that we love Him. Do you love me? Keep my commandments. And His commandments were not new. His commandments were the same one that the Father gave us. back then in Mount Sinai. He came to prepare us to the world to come. He came to show us the things that we need to do to enter the promised land. For 40 years, the people of Israel, they were very close. Just remember this image. They were right there. But for 40 years, they kept going around and around and around because they were not ready. For 40 years, they were learning how to keep His word, how to walk on His ways. They failed, they sinned, they got back up. In several instances, the same commandments were repeated over and over and over again. They kept over 2,000 Shabbats during those 4 years in the feast to learn the way of the Father. But many of them that left Mitzrayim, that left Egypt, and for 4 years didn't make it to that promised land, including Moshe. Have you thought about that? Moshe didn't make it to the promised land. One of the, anybody but Yeshua have that closer relationship to the Father as Moshe did. But he disobeyed the Father. And he was able to look the land from afar. And I don't know about you, but I think that Moshe understood even that it hurt him. And I'm sure our Father heard for Moshe, but we're not better than our Father. It doesn't matter who we are. We can be kings, we can be pastors, we can be rabbis. We're not better than him. Our Father told us to do things for a reason. He wants to bless us. He wants us to be ready when we enter to His kingdom. We still have 1,000 years of preparation before we enter. Think about that. How many years have we been doing this walk, try to do the best that we can? I've been doing it for 10 years. Trust me, I'm still learning. I still have a lot to learn. I have fallen down. I have got up. I have break several commandments. We all have. But we strive to get better. We are right there on that desert, just going around and around, learning. He's teaching us His ways to be ready for Him when we're ready to enter that land. We're not that different from the people of Israel back then because we are His people. But we're making the same sins that they were making back there. We're still doing it today. And we have to learn, as our rabbi says right here, we have to learn how to master sin. How us not to be a slave of sin, but we have to master what sin is. In that way, that's going to get us ready for what's coming up next, which is enter the promised land. You have a question?
You're saying they wanted for the 40 years, but the reason, you never did give the reason. The reason was Caleb and the other witnesses went out and with the 12 men into the land. They came back. 10 of them said, "They're giants, we can't do anything, we can't fight them," although the Father had given it to them and said, "You can have the land." They didn't do it, so nobody was able to come into the promised land except those that were 20 years of age and under. And that's the reason that those people had to wander around and around and around and around, and they would never get in there. Of course, Moses, he struck the rock and started speaking to them.
Yeah, but again, they were not ready. They were not ready. They were just not ready mentally, physically. They did not believe. Exactly. Absolutely, they chose not to.
Was there,
Yep.
but they didn't believe him. They didn't follow his commandments. That's the reason they died in the wilderness.
Yeah, that's why He's not going to take us to the place that He promised us when we are not there yet. We're going to get there, but we still have a lot to learn, and I think all of us are there. So, with that, I say Shabbat Shalom. Yeah.